coming to a talk that I think we're going to talk about one of the most important subjects of our time, and that's our brain health, the health of our brain. Now, I'm going to go back in history just a little bit tonight. This is my neurology book, textbook in chiropractic college. This is what we used in 1978, 1979. This is written by a neurologist, okay? And at the time, if you go through this, you will not even find the term autism in this book.
Wow.
You won't find it, okay? You can find Alzheimer's, you can find dementia, but there wasn't a lot in here about brain dysfunction. And to be quite honest, I don't think a lot back then was known about brain dysfunction and how our brains break down. So let's go up to the mid. Let's fast forward to the mid. You know, it's about 2015 copyright, I think, 2013. Here's a book written by a chiropractor, pretty knowledgeable guy. Why isn't my brain working? Look how thick this book is. I've read it. It's a great book. So here we have an entire book that's thicker than my neurology textbook, just on why the brain breaks down and what are the things that causes it. And so this subject is exploding. Now, how did I come up with this, talking about this subject? How did I do that? Well, I had a radio show for 12 years on KZUM, and I used to scour medical journals, I looked for all kinds of places to find really good, solid material for that show. And one of the things I noticed over time was I kept running across articles in journals that talked about the shrinkage of the brain, what causes a brain to shrink. And I thought, after a while, I thought, we ought to make a talk on this. You know, I had to collect all that stuff. So a friend of mine, who's a chiropractor out on 35th and Old Cheney, he and I sat down and we put together this talk a couple years ago. It's called How to Shrink Your Brain. And so we're going to talk about what does the medical literature say about keeping our brains healthy. How many of you think that's important? Yeah, okay, that's good. Everybody raise their hand, okay? Yeah, it's really important, okay? Because if you don't have your brain, you don't have really anything. Now, I'll tell you a story about, he's not a patient now, but he's a former patient of mine, and he was having some dementia, and I was working with that as much as he would let me and his wife would let me, and he had some knee issues. He'd had one knee replacement in one knee and two knee replacements in the other knee, but the one with the two, that knee just kept hurting him and hurting him and hurting him. So finally, he broke down. He said, okay, I'm gonna finally get another knee replacement. I'm gonna get that knee fixed. It hurts all the time. That had two. So he did. Went to the hospital. He got his knee replaced. Okay, came out of the surgery, came out of it, and his knee felt great. Okay, but he went right into full-blown Alzheimer's after that surgery, and he's never been right again. Okay, so one of the morals of that story is that general anesthesia. Now this man was in his early 80s. General anesthesia in an older person, we're talking, 65 on up, is really, really harmful to the brain. Really, really harmful. And if you can avoid that, if you can avoid going under general anesthesia, just doing that is going to help your brain, okay? Now that wasn't number one in your notes, but you can write it down, okay? So let's get into the talk a little bit. First of all, we don't want to waste the resources of good research. So I want to make sure we want to make sure our time, our money, our energy is devoted to the best things. So we want to put this information into action, okay, that I'm going to talk about. Loss of brain volume can cause a lot of problems in the body. Memory loss, cognitive dysfunction, mood disorders, accelerated Alzheimer's, increased healthcare costs, increased burden on the family, reduced quality and quantity of life. Alzheimer's is now the third leading cause of death in this country. I mean, that's unbelievable. Thirdly, do you have a question? Oh.
I'm just adding things up. I don't know how Alzheimer's can be that's how they died. I thought it was a progression of a disease that deteriorated but couldn't be, I didn't know they could diagnose as a cause for death.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
And it passed up stroke. It used to be stroke, okay? So anybody know what number one is? A question I ask a lot in my class. What's the number one cause of death?
Heart attack.
The number one disease cause of death is heart disease. Okay. Number two, disease cause of death. Cancer. Number three, Alzheimer's. So, but if we look at the number one cause of death overall, what would anybody know what that is?
Diet.
Say obesity or car accidents.
Okay, car accidents is, oh, it's in the top 10, but it's down there a little ways. Okay, number one overall cause of mortality in the country is side effects of prescribed pharmaceuticals and hospital error. Okay, that's number one cause. Okay, that's another talk though. That's information for a whole nother talk. So let's look at the difference between heart attack, cancer, and stroke, and dementia and Alzheimer's real quick. So in heart attack, cancer, and stroke, you can often have painful onset of symptoms. That's usually in stroke and heart disease. Dementia and Alzheimer's comes on pretty gradually. Stroke, heart disease, cancer can cause moderate to severe disruptions in function. Dementia certainly causes major functional disruptions, but you don't even know that it's really doing it, okay? Whereas you're a lot more aware of it over here. You know, with heart disease, cancer, and stroke, your mind is usually intact, so you're aware of what's going on and what's going on with your family. But with dementia and Alzheimer's, your mind just erodes away, and you don't know even what it's doing to other people. And so this is one of the real problems of this disease. So modern research is showing that our lifestyles are causing our brain to shrink. If we look at how much of this is genetic, maybe 25%. The other 75% is how we treat our genes. Okay, so that means like lifestyle, diet, things like that actually affect genetic function. So about 25% is genes. I don't even know if it's that high. That's the number I had here. How we treat our genes, 75%. So let's look at the top 12 actions you can take to shrink your brain. Number one is reduce your water intake. Don't drink water, okay? Just don't drink it. Drink Mountain Dew, by the way, which will destroy your thyroid. That's in my thyroid talk. But don't drink water. Drink anything else but water. Drink Coca-Cola. But do whatever it takes to dehydrate your body, because at 2%, if you dehydrate yourself by 2%, that really affects the way your brain works. So we want to drink water, okay? And where did this come out of? Oh, the Human Brain Map in 2011. Okay, the second one is don't sleep. Start reducing your sleep. Okay, when you sleep, what happens is your body actually cleanses your brain. It's called autophagy. And it gets rid of all the dead cells, gets rid of the toxicity, the cerebral spinal fluid washes over your brain, and it helps clean it up. If you don't sleep, you don't get that, okay? So, you know, lack of sleep is a tremendous stressor on the brain. Your mitochondrial function goes down, which means the energy that your cells have to function go down. And you can't like just catch up on it on the weekends. You can't sleep like 4 or 5 hours a night. and then catch up on the weekend. Your body just doesn't handle that very well. So poor sleeping habits cause brain damage, brain shrinkage. It may even accelerate the onset of Alzheimer's disease. Lack of sleep has also been linked to obesity and hormone alteration. And that's from the journal Neurology, September of 2014. So these are all articles that I covered on my radio program at one time or another. Third thing to shrink your brain is don't exercise. So don't drink any water, okay? Don't sleep and just sit on the couch, okay? So play video games all night and drink Coke, all right? So any lack of exercise actually causes your brain to get bigger, to grow, okay? So here it says, while lack of sleep can lead to brain shrinkage, those who exercise the most tend to have the least amount of brain shrinkage over time. So I'm a huge believer in exercise. I mean, that's just like, I believe that should just be part of your life, okay? Part of who you are. Here's another one. Become and remain depressed. Recurring depressive episodes. So, you know, recurring depression actually reduces the size of a part of your brain called hippocampus. And a smaller hippocampus equates to loss of emotion and behavioral function. So think about this. If you don't sleep, you don't exercise, and you're drinking everything but water, don't you think over time you'd probably get depressed? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know of anything that will I mean, when I don't get enough sleep, that probably brings on depression more than anything else, at least in my life. Now, I know that all of us have, you know, times when we probably get depressed, you know, here and there. I mean, everybody does. But, you know, if you have chronic depression, that is a risk factor for brain shrinkage. Okay, here's another one. Reduce the B vitamins in your diet. Just don't take them. Avoid them, okay? So you want to, stress will lower B vitamins, excessive drinking, avoid green vegetables and grass-fed meats, okay? If you want to shrink your brain, do that. B12 deficiency leads to lower cognitive function, smaller brain volume, okay? Studies have shown that high doses of vitamins B6, B8, which is inositol, which I carry here in a powdered form, and B12 were effective in improving schizophrenia symptoms. Wow. There are physicians that were working in the 1950s and early 60s using these kind of things for schizophrenia and having really good results. B6 niacin is actually a key treatment for psychological disorders. That came out of a journal that I really liked called Psychological Medicine. This is 2017. It's pretty recent, okay? So, I mean, I use inositol for teenage girls that are having panic attacks. Inositol works pretty well. It can work for depression, can work some for depression. It can be pretty powerful. So niacin, I've heard of a physician, and I can't remember his name, who's using very high dosage of niacin. This is back probably in the 50s, early 60s, and really having great results with schizophrenia. And so if you want to alter your brain in a negative way, just stay away from B vitamins or any of the foods that have it, okay? Now, the supplement I like for B vitamins is my Cataplex B. I take it myself regularly. You know, we use it for the heart sound recorder to normalize heart rhythm, okay, because it does that too. But B vitamins have a tremendous effect on our health. Number 6, if you want to shrink your brain, drink alcohol, and drink a lot of it, okay? Alcohol has a linear effect on brain volume, alcohol consumption. So the more you drink, the more your brain shrinks. And even low to moderate alcohol consumption can affect your brain. And that was in a journal called Scientific Reports, again, 2017, so it's a fairly recent journal, okay? So alcohol consumption, not good for your brain. So again, if you sit on the couch and don't sleep and drink beer, don't exercise, I mean, you know, you're compounding all the things that affect your brain. And we know that alcohol depletes your brain of B vitamins. So, I mean, you know, drinking, sitting on the couch and drinking, man, you can get a whole lot of those things in all at once if you want to, if that's what you want to do. Number 7, load up on prescription painkillers, especially narcotics. Prescription painkillers, especially morphine, have been shown to shrink brain volume by 3% after only 1 month. Okay, that is in a journal called Pain Medicine, okay, December 26th of 2015. So what does that tell you about all these people that are hooked on opioids? What does that tell you about what it's doing to their brains? It's not good. It is not good. And again, this is I get a lot of really good stuff out of this journal, Pain Medicine. It's one of my favorite journals. In one of my other talks, I talk a lot about things I got out of that journal, but this is not a good thing. And all of these painkillers that are being prescribed, and we're going to get into some other things, some lower back pain issues, but if you have back pain and you get a painkiller prescribed, and let me tell you something, that happens all the time. I know people with back pain that go to their physicians and they're put on opioids, okay? I know a guy right now who does that. I'm trying to convince him he should see a chiropractor. He just believes that, you know, these opioids are the thing, and he's hurting himself. He's shrinking his brain and doing other things to his body by doing that. Here's another one. Now, I know none of you probably have ever overconsumed sugar, but there are some people out there that have, okay? So, increase your sugar intake. Long-term sugar intake contributes to the shrinking of your brain, okay? This is really a big deal, probably a bigger deal than what I have here. If you look at, well, we'll go there in a minute. So you want to really limit the amount of sugar that you eat, okay? I'm not saying you can never have dessert. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy that every now and then, but you really need to limit it because it's not good for you. Here's another one. Increase your intake of trans fats. So you want to eat lots of processed food, okay, lots of it. So, you know, Cheetos, anything that's in a bag, lots of your commercial corn chips that aren't made very well, lots of your commercial snack foods, all have trans fats. So they're found in fast foods, processed foods, margarine, shortening, chips, flaky pastries, many of your fried foods and convenience foods. Trans fats are really bad for the brain. Why is that? Who can tell me why that is? Yes, Lisa.
Is it because they have omega-6s and not omega-3s? So
Okay, yeah, okay, but why is that bad? That's a true statement.
Body
Okay.
can't allocate it properly.
What?
Your body can't allocate it properly.
And why is that?
Because the chemical structure's wrong.
Right, chemical structure, that's right.
I don't really know.
Points team, by the way.
That's right, the chemical structure is wrong. What percentage of your brain is fat?
Ooh,
Well, it's like
90
80 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like most of it,
Yeah.
okay? So do you think you need the right kind of fat for your
Yeah,
brain to
it's-
work right? I mean, your nervous system is basically made of fat, okay? So if you go on a really, really low-fat diet, what are you going to do?
Start
You're
your
gonna
brain.
do away with your nervous system, right? So this trans fats are really rigid in their structure, and you want your membranes, the cell membrane, very fluid. Well, trans fats cause the cell membranes to be very rigid. And so the cell membrane is like the brain of your cell. Okay, it's not the nucleus, the cell membrane. So that really affects how well your cell will intake nutrients, get rid of waste products, intake hormones, all that will be affected by trans fats. So this is a really important thing. I had something interesting happen with one of my patients. This is a couple years ago. He came in, and I think we did a heart sound recorder on him, I'm not sure. But I put him on a product I have called, and he's in his mid-20s, product I have called soybean lecithin. Now, soybean lecithin has two chemicals in it that are really good for the brain, phosphatidylserine and phosphatidylcholine, okay? And I take soybean lecithin myself regularly. It's also really good for normalizing cholesterol in the body, but I take it for brain function. And he took it, he started taking it, and after about, I don't know, a week, 10 days on it, 2 weeks, he came back, and he said that it had so radically changed his ability to think and process information that he said, if I would have had this in high school, my life would have been so much different. Okay, so your brain needs the right stuff. Okay, so trans fats are definitely not that. Okay, decrease your intake of unhealthy, unprocessed foods. So we just talked about that. You want to, in this particular article, study participants who ate diets high in vitamins B, C, D, and E, and omega-3 fatty acids were found to have larger, healthier brains than those who ate junk food. Okay? Okay, now, if you want to shrink your brain, run as far as you can from the Mediterranean diet, okay, which is what we're talking about. The Mediterranean diet, people that eat the Mediterranean diet have bigger brain volumes, okay? So, what is the Mediterranean diet?
Nuts, seeds, fruits,
Avocado.
healthy fat, healthy fish.
Yeah.
Olive oil.
Olive oil, right.
Seafood.
Yeah. Seafood. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what you want to eat. So, yeah, that's the Mediterranean diet. So, you know, people ask me, what do you think the best diet is? I just say the Mediterranean diet. I mean, if you want to eat something good, that's it, okay? So look up what the Mediterranean diet is and eat that, all right? Now, having said that, I'll just say this and admit this. My diet isn't always perfect 100% of the time. It's just not. Sometimes I cheat. Sometimes I eat things I shouldn't eat. I do that. But for the most part, it's pretty good. All right, now, if you want to shrink your brain, eat 0 servings of brain food per day. Now, this is one list of brain food, but there's others out there that have other things on it other than this, okay? So, curry, okay, very anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective. We have a product called Turmeric Forte, which curry has turmeric in it. Turmeric Forte, we know, is really, really good for the brain, and it's an Alzheimer's preventative, okay? Celery really calms inflammation, really good. Why is celery so good for the body, or celery juice?
It's high in potassium.
High in potassium, yeah.
It's high in sodium.
High in sodium, too, yeah. Organic sodium. So it alkalizes the body, okay? That's why it's so good, because that's what it does. Broccoli and cauliflower, walnuts, garbanzo beans, which, to be quite honest, I hardly ever eat. Red meat with B12, blueberries, healthy fats. You know, all of this is basically the Mediterranean diet. If you're a male and you want to shrink your brain, eat more non-fermented soy. So that would be like tofu, okay? You do not want to eat tofu if you're a guy, okay? Brain atrophy progresses more rapidly in men who consume more tofu, okay? So, and here's all the reasons why, and we can get into all of that. It has high amounts of omega-6 fats, enzyme inhibitors. So, especially if you're a male, you want to avoid. Now, I didn't know, this is fairly new information. This is 1999. When I was in chiropractic school, I used to eat tofu a lot. This is back in the, late 70s, early, I thought it was good for you, so I'd eat it. I was trying to eat a whole food diet back then, and so now I don't touch it, okay, for a lot of reasons. Number 10, if you want to shrink your brain, put on as much weight as you can. So people who are obese have significantly smaller white matter volumes than people that are lean, okay? So you want to watch that as much as possible, okay? I think that, if you're eating a healthy diet, you're exercising regularly, you're drinking water, you're doing all the things that we want you to do, I think you can compensate for a lot of this, okay? So, but if you can avoid that, do it. Number 11, if you want to shrink your brain, promote a type 2 diabetes lifestyle throughout your life. So, here's something you need to know. Type 2 diabetes ages your brain about 5 years faster than normal. That's a lot, okay? I'll show you something even worse here in a few minutes, but that's a lot. Alzheimer's disease is a common finding. Deterioration of the brain's ability to metabolize glucose equals decline in cognitive ability. Look where that came from. Annals of Internal Medicine, which is like a blue blood medical journal, okay? So, type 2 diabetes is not good. And type 2 diabetes is curable generally with exercise, appetite, or exercise diet, supplements, and intermittent fasting. You can pretty much really change that. So it is, and how many people in this country have type 2 diabetes? Lots. A lot of people suffer from that.
So is Alzheimer's an advanced form of diabetes?
Some people call it type 3 diabetes.
Okay.
Some researchers have called it that.
And it's all about the metabolizing the glucose functionality?
Yeah, it's too much sugar. Your brain actually produces its own insulin. So if you have too much sugar in your body, that upsets the insulin in your brain and causes your brain not to work right.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Here's the one that, this is a kicker, I think. If you want to shrink your brain, remain in chronic pain and avoid chiropractic care. This is in the Journal of Neuroscience in 2004. So this is this article's like 16 years old. And I guarantee you, none of you have ever heard about this article. You should have. Chronic low back pain, in this article, I said chronic low back pain causes the brain to shrink at a rate of about 1.3 cubic centimeters, or about a half a cubic inch per year, which is the equivalent of 10 to 20 years of normal brain aging. So if you have chronic low back pain, and you're taking opioids for that pain, think of what it's doing to your brain. Okay, chiropractic adjustments alleviate low back pain and stop brain shrinkage. Now, this statement was not in this article. Okay, I just put that up. That's Dr. Paul right there. Okay, so but think about that. People that walk around with chronic back pain, their brain is shrinking because of that. Now I'm going to ask you a question. This is a hard question, and we're going to wrap this up here pretty soon. Why is that? What's the mechanism behind this? Anybody know? You should get a nice prize if you get that answer.
Ask
right.
it again for me. Say it again.
What's the mechanism? What is it about chronic back pain or chronic pain that causes the brain to shrink?
It's got to disrupt communication to the body, and then therefore all of the body's functions.
Well, it's altering communication, but what communication?
Stress.
Stress, you're warm, Lisa, you're really warm. Okay, so what does stress do?
Causes inflammation.
Okay,
It suppresses everything.
Yeah.
It suppresses like all your body functions.
so stress elevates cortisol.
Oh yeah.
Cortisol really is like a blowtorch on the brain. Lisa, you want to go ahead and sit down? Or not Lisa? Patricia, I'm sorry. Okay, so chiropractic affects the brain function in other positive ways. Number one, it stimulates the cingulate cortex, which is learning emotions and memory. Stimulates the cerebellum, which has to do with movement, emotions, and posture. It downregulates the somatosensory cortex, which is where we perceive pain. And it downregulates salivary amylase, which is an enzyme which increases with stress. Now, this is in the journal. This is a study that was published in the Complementary and Alternative Medicine in 2017. So here's what I want you to understand about this study: is that when I adjust you and the pain gets better, it's actually affecting brain function. That's how that's how it's getting better. It's not because this is better and you don't have pain here. It's because this is moving better, which affects what's going on up here. Chiropractic, at its very core, what it does, affects how the brain works. And we have study after study that shows that. So, number 3, the bonus. You want to shrink your brain, subject it to repeated, unprotected trauma. Okay, so get lots of concussions. All right? And we know that people that get concussions have chronic traumatic encephalopathy. We know that football players, soccer players. So the shrink your brain lifestyle is right here. Okay, don't show up for your appointments. Eat Crisco. Drink alcohol. Eat fast food. You know, live with pain. Go to McDonald's a lot. Sit on the couch. What you need to stop doing if you want to shrink your brain is stop exercising, don't get adjusted, avoid the Mediterranean diet. I mean, here's the lifestyle that really help your brain right there. Action steps. So if this is overwhelming for some of you, just pick one thing and start working on it. You know, you don't have to do all of it. Just pick one thing. Okay.
Can I give you a comment?
Yeah.
I have a family, just brother and mother, and full of Alzheimer's. And about 15 years ago, I ran into Dr. Russell Braylock, who was a brain surgeon.
Oh yeah, I've read his books.
Yeah.
Blaylock, yeah.
Well, I took that on, okay, because my brother, he died of dementia and everything. So I wanted to find out. I'd been on about 10 years in the program. I had the brain scan done, the whole work. And when they got done, they said, what we can't understand is we don't find a single marker for Alzheimer's or dementia. Not a single. I'm 78, so I had that done around 7 years of age. He said, we're surprised. What are you doing? And that's what Braylock said is exactly what that says. And his approach is with the different supplements and eating and everything like that. So you're right on target.
Yeah.
And the chronic pain issue is probably bigger than anything.
Yeah.
That people don't deal with that, and that just knocks them down every place.
But they don't deal with it properly.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem. Yeah. But I love Russ Blaylock. His book called Nutrition Secrets That Can Save Your Life is one of the best books I've ever read on the subject. It's really good. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. So, here's the last thing you could choice of yours: shrink it or save it. So I went over a little bit. I hope that you guys got some things out of this, and you've got lots of ideas now to how to keep your brain healthy. And so let's go out and do that.
Will this be on your webpage?
Yes, it'll be on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be on. So one other thing I just want to mention to you, okay, just before we go. So on July 16th, we're having our Patient Appreciation Day. We're gonna have some, some nice food and some things like that, and some good healthy snacks. But we're also going to be doing, some exams, some screenings for, any friends or family members that you might have who just might want to get checked. They're not obligated to be a patient, but if they want to come in, they want to get checked, they want to have a screening, we're going to do that at our expense. And so,
I'm sorry, I got to leave.
yeah, go ahead. So we'll do that at our expense. You can sign them up in the back, and we're glad to do that. Take about 10 minutes. So we're looking forward to our Patient Appreciation Day, and most people know other people that are sick and unhealthy and have problems. Yeah, sign them up and let them get checked and find out maybe we can help them. So, good. That's all we're going to do tonight. Thank you so much. On July 14th, we're going to do a talk called Getting the Most out of Your Chiropractic Care, which is also a great talk. So, thank you so much for coming tonight. God bless you guys, and keep your brains big and healthy.